This podcast is brought to you by our lovely Anime Addicts community. If you want to support the podcast, become an Anime Addict, help out the show, and get all of our extra content, you can go to aapodcast.com/join or patreon.com. We're going to appreciate all the support you give us, and we're going to do 8 exclusive episodes for you a month right to your mobile app. We do our hentai episodes, our hobby addicts episodes, where we largely talk about video games, and also we do our after parties. All for you, exclusive for your support over at aapodcast.com/join or Patreon. And now it's time to start the podcast.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at aapodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Hello, this is Caroline. Welcome to the 741st episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. I'll be honest, I'm a little tired, a little groggy, a little hungover, but I had a really great weekend. And so I'm sorry if I'm acting a little strange this episode, and also my voice is hoarse, so I'm just a train wreck. But helping me to keep my train on track, we have Mason. Mason, hello.
Hello, I'm the... What are the beams that go across the track? The horizontal ones? Like the wooden... That's what I am. I'm not actually the track. I'm just trying to keep everything together. I don't know what we're doing. I'm also a little beat up because I went to the same Anime NYC convention that Caroline did. And I didn't go as hard in the paint, but I'm feeling it. So we're trying to keep it together, but we really need to keep it together for this man's sake. The domestic traveler.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So are we just all kind of Nesses at the moment?
No, I'm doing great. I'm doing great, actually.
I don't know. I mean, you had quite the week.
I woke up at 7:30 this morning and walked 10,000 steps in Pikmin bloom, baby.
Oh my God, you're so well adjusted.
I was blooming flowers all over this bitch. I got red hydrangeas. I got morning glories. I got hibiscus. I got it all. Bring it on.
He was going around spreading his seed, and the world has never been more afraid.
And I'm
our Twitch is a little blown out, but we're here. We're here on Twitch. We're looking chipper. We're looking fresh. But that's okay. We're still. You know what? I think by the end of this, we'll be feeling all right. We'll be feeling some sort of way.
We're adapting things here.
We will overcome.
Mitsuki, how's the new abode going?
Well, yeah, we'll talk about it more in Hobby Addicts, but it's definitely a process, I will say.
After party?
That's what I meant, after party, yeah. Thank you. It's a
process.
process.
Of that, we will all talk more about Anime NYC in the after party. So, there's a lot coming in this after party, people. Yeah, I don't think we even mentioned, we did go to Anime NYC this past weekend. We had a panel. It was great. We'll talk more about it later. But, yeah, thank you for joining us today. If you are watching us live on Twitch, we do so every Sunday, 5 p.m. EDT. But we're also on all your favorite podcast apps. And you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Just look up AAA Podcast and you're sure to find us. And, you can check out our Discord too, aaadiscord.com. And check out our merch shop, aaashop.info. So, Mitch, I believe you have a little something you want to talk about today.
I've been kicking this around for a while, and I don't really see a reason not to do it. So, other people do it, and I thought, why not? Why shouldn't we do it as well? So I'd like to start thanking the people that sign on to support us every week. So we do have some people that have been supporting our website in a manner that is so utterly generous that I can't possibly thank them. I mean, it's like, if you only knew, it's breathtaking to say the least. But there are quite a few people supporting the podcast, and I can't read off everybody's names, so I'm not going to go back and spend 20 minutes reading names. But I do want to thank Nate Robinson via the website, and also Matt on Patreon for supporting the podcast this past week. It's 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 nice to have support. And so from here on, I'd like to start recognizing the people that sign up every week. It's people like to be recognized for doing a good thing, and I view it as a good thing. So yeah, go ahead.
You know what we should do? Like how they do in actual AA meetings. We can go like, "Hi Nate, hi Matt."
We don't need to patronize them for patroning us.
There was a time years ago, a decade ago, at this point, no shit, where we used to like lean into that sort of thing hard, and we would go to anime conventions and take them into like the confession booth, and we'd have a confession booth, and we did that back in the day. We haven't done it in a long time.
Oh, elaborate.
Yeah, people didn't really have all that good of stuff to confess anyway, usually, but there were a couple. Occasionally, you get that person that is a little surprising. And if you're watching on Twitch, my camera and background are non-existent. I just moved across the country, and I have not set things up yet, but I'm here, so deal with it, okay? And you want to make something of it, you can come to our Discord, talk some shit. That's what I'm saying. Also, you guys ready for listener choice results?
I am so ready for this. It's
So-
been like 2 weeks, right? That, it's been up.
Yeah, there were a few more votes than usual because of the time period. And I got to say, first of all, these anime have some of the worst titles I've ever seen. I'm just like, and I'm realizing that I think all of your cameras are messed up. It's not just mine. So now I feel a little better. But maybe I'll fix it on the news break. Probably not, though. So these
and really
titles,
quick, these are for the summer 2024 season for future review. So if you're like, what is this about? It's more shows we're going to review in summer.
The top 3 get a review.
Mm-hmm. So the second runner-up with the worst title is Days with My Stepsister. 20% of you voted for Days with My Stepsister, which is.
I'm honestly kind of surprised it's so low.
Yeah, I've heard actually decent things about that show. Not that I've seen it at all. And
before you ask, and this adds up to more than 100%, everyone gets 3 votes, so really the total vote adds up to 300%, so just bear with me here. The first runner-up was one that I failed, which was Wistoria, Wand, and Sword. And I gotta say, I'm really thankful that we didn't pass this one because I did not feel like watching Mashal again. So, thank you. Thank you for that. So, the number 3 on the list.
Number 3.
Another terrible title. My Dear Friend Nokotan.
What are you talking about?
That's a great title.
Amazing title.
Spelled Deer. I'm sure they're gonna lean into like Nara so fucking hard. And
yes, I mean she has antlers sprouting out of her noggin.
I really don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is probably one of the best titled anime in the entire season.
Listen, I made it easier for you to come down here and talk some shit. So if you have something to say, come down here to Tennessee, and we'll stomp their boots all over this town. By God. Okay, so
we need to find the perfect show for us to all convene in person and do a review of. It needs to be the most off the wall show, but I don't think it's going to be that one.
No,
number 2.
I don't think so either.
So that one had 22.3%. My Dear Friend Nokotan.
Number 2.
And I feel bad for Nokotan because deer are really stupid. Like, they are, for their size, they are insanely dumb animals. So I've seen
Nokotan is very much like that.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I saw deer get tangled up in our chain link fences and stuff, just running from dogs, and it's just like, you got to be really fucking stupid. Number 2, with 28.5% of you voting for it, so getting up there, is The Elusive Samurai. Another terrible title. Why? What in the world?
I don't think it's that terrible. It's
just
terrible. Listen, like, both of these shows were Dear Friend Nokotan and The Elusive Samurai. They were both on my impressions list, and The Elusive Samurai just really wasn't my cup of tea. I don't think this is going to be one that we're going to like, to be honest.
I don't usually like samurai shows, so we'll see. This strawberry monster is so delicious. I would literally make love to it if I could. If it would fit, I would stick it in this can and just make sweet love to it. I mean, it's so beautiful. I think you should all go get a strawberry monster.
After we came back from Anime NYC and had a successful panel, we might very well have some new listeners this episode.
That's okay.
So
that's okay. I'm putting on my best.
They probably love Monster too.
That's right.
Love it like that.
Oh, they do. I'm sure. I'm putting my best foot forward for them, and I'm even wearing pants, honestly, today. So I mean, come on. Like, I don't know what you expect.
Nice job.
Don't expect too much, otherwise you'll get disappointed. All right, number 1 on the list as I slowly fix my camera.
Number 1.
Yes, believe it or not, an anime with an even worse title than The Elusive Samurai. With 42.3% of the vote, which is a massive number. Yes, you guessed it. It is Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. Wow.
Dun, 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 dun,
There you
dun,
have
dun,
it.
dun.
There you have it. So I
So
actually
these
have that drop somewhere.
hyper-descriptive titles, those are the ones that I don't like.
There you go. Yeah. So we will be covering my dear friend Nokotan, which must be popular because a random coworker of mine who sent me a video of like her dancing, and he was like, I might have to watch this. And I said, why? You're 40 years old. Why would you be drawn to this?
It's like absurdist comedy. I didn't really love it, to be honest.
You've already seen it.
Yeah, both of these were on my list. Actually, no,
Aren't
all
all
three.
three of these?
All three of these were on my list.
Yeah, which means you had good picks.
Wow.
I
That's
mean-
actually impressive.
Yeah, I could have seen possibly passing Dear Friend because I knew it was going to be like one of the absurdist popular shows of the season. The Elusive Samurai, like I was holding out hope that I was going to love this show, and in ways I really did like it for certain things, but it just got me the wrong way and other ways. And Alya is fun, and I really liked the first few episodes, but it is going to be a student council type show.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Why do
yeah.
people keep picking shit like this? Aren't you tired of it yet? Like they must have fixed the cameras.
Alya,
They must not
like
be tired.
the
of it.
beginning, like what Alya has, I actually really love. But if they're gonna focus on the student council race for most of the show, I've been turned off by that. It's not that interesting.
It could be done well as long as it's not like a slapstick comedy. My microphone works so much better now than it used to.
No,
anyway.
Alya is not a slapstick.
Well, thank God. And as long as it's as far away from
It is rom-com without much rom.
Christ. Of course, yeah, whatever. Okay, so there
But
you go.
there is rom with a sister. I don't know if that catches your attention at all.
I'm not sure when I started to dislike samurai anime, or maybe I never liked them. I'm not really sure. I like Rurouni Kenshin, but that's about
Do you
it.
like Sword of the Stranger?
Yes, I do.
Do you like Ninja Scroll?
Yes.
I think
But
you just don't like the
unfortunately,
recent
these
Samurai
are
Sword.
like the samurai in this show is literally 8 years old. That's the
What?
problem.
Well,
Yeah.
the golfer and Rising Impact, which by the way ended up being, I finished both cores. For people listening, and we're getting off track here, I know, I'm sorry. I'm going to be watching so much more anime because now that I'm working from home the entire time. It is ridiculous. I blew through 8 hours of Rising Impact in under 2 days working. It was pretty good. We'll talk about it later, but yeah, you do not be deterred by how young and dumb he sounds. It is, although not realistic whatsoever, a pretty good show. Caroline, what
Yeah,
are we
it's
doing
really
today?
not in your character to pre-watch a show before we even have it scheduled to review.
Well, I should have because we're reviewing Breaking Wind today. So, Caroline, what are we doing today?
As you said, we are going to be reviewing Windbreaker, not Breaking Wind, Windbreaker. That's later on, but first we will be getting into our main topic. What have we been watching, which is kind of like a grab bag of shows that we have been watching not for review. So, you get to hear just a random grab bag of shows that we like, possibly dislike, but mostly like, I think. So
right.
with that, let's head into our big news of the week.
おー、大ニュースです。It's time for big news of the week.
So, the CEO of Crunchyroll likes to open his mouth a lot and say a lot of shit that people don't probably don't like. But I don't think he gives a shit because they have a micro monopoly sort of, and although they really don't, do they? Because Netflix has hundreds of anime, and honestly, it's bad when Netflix is just a better place to watch anime than Crunchyroll. Netflix, there's nothing better than their player. It works so good, and they dub it in every friggin' language possible. The CEO of Crunchyroll says that anime must remain inherently Japanese. I just wanted to hear what your guys' take was on this. So he says, quote, I believe that anime must be inherently Japanese and told from the perspective of Japanese creators. We want more anime, more diverse stories, and it's important that Japanese creators continue to be involved in them. But in the article, he says that he wants them to be Japanese stories made by Japanese people and told by a Japanese perspective. From a Japanese perspective. And in this, world that we live in today, where the article cites stuff like The Glass Worker, which is a Pakistani animation film that essentially copies the art style of Ghibli, which is, I don't know, makes me unhappy, just blatantly. It really, I don't know, it's weird. It's like, it's almost like he's saying that he doesn't want other countries to make anime. Or maybe they can make things, but it's not going to be anime, and maybe they won't have it on Crunchyroll. I don't know. You guys have any takes on this? It seems like he's not showing great respect to like Korea or China, for example, who also make stuff, and this guy does have a history of being controversial, I think.
So my
Yeah.
knee-jerk reaction is that he's seeing shows like Castlevania or Arcane, which are very successful, very beloved animated works that are not anime, quote unquote. They're not from Japan, on things like Netflix, and he's like, well, we don't have that, so it's not real anime. So like he's trying to protect the the sphere that Crunchyroll kind of has its domain in, and so maybe he's just kind of trying to prop up their own product by being like, oh, the other stuff isn't real anime. Real anime fans wouldn't watch that. It's not and kind of putting it down needlessly. I mean, I get that there's a whole argument that anime is from Japan to be technically called anime. And that's fine, but it seems how you presented this that he's kind of, I don't know, dismissing other stuff as being lesser in some way, which is never a good look. What do you think, Caroline?
Yeah, like we have to go to the definition of what is anime. Anime is literally just Japanese animation. There's nothing else to dictate what is and what isn't anime. If it's Japanese animation, it's anime. And that's why if it's like a Chinese show, people will specifically say like a Chinese anime. They don't typically like they really do kind of denote certain things here. So
I mean, I don't know if we're going with the Japanese
about,
perspective, it's all
like,
anime because anime is just animation.
yeah, but you can't gatekeep cartoons.
Why not?
As much as we don't like calling anime cartoons, that's what they are. Like cartoons in America, cartoons in Japan, cartoons in China, etc.
People gatekeep everything. They gatekeep the damn Rocky Mountains. People are assholes. They're get off my fucking mountain.
It's just like, it's a ridiculous statement. It doesn't make any sense. If you have a Japanese story told by Japanese storytellers, etc., then yeah, you got anime right there. If it's an American production from an American perspective, that's on anime, so you're fine. I'm not sure what the deal is.
But what if it's a Chinese company making animation?
Well, they have a right to make a cartoon.
Well, they
You can't
do.
gatekeep an art style. It's just really silly.
And cartoons are made everywhere, but he's just
Exactly.
saying that anime must remain inherently Japanese and centered around Japanese creators. But the article does mention that like Solo Leveling was one of the biggest animes of last year, but I believe that was made by a Japanese studio.
Yeah,
So-
Sure,
okay,
but it
with
was
the
a Korean story. I
Yeah.
don't know.
So I mean,
I
yeah,
guess I would want to know.
Kind of blur lines a little bit there, but who cares?
It's
Really
nuanced, but
doesn't matter much.
it sounds like he's saying that he's okay if a Korean manga or whatever gets made into an anime, as long as it's made in Japan by Japanese people, and with their sort of like influence on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he specifically says that he wants it like a Japanese story from a Japanese perspective, and if it's a Korean story from a Korean perspective, that's already two things that are off his list of 3 requirements.
Yeah, I guess I would need to know more context. Like, would we look at the classic world masterpiece theater stuff that Ghibli, or not Ghibli, but those creators adapted, decades ago of European stories that were, done by a Japanese company? Is that anime? Would you say like Made in Abyss is still anime if they had a Australian composer working on the soundtrack? Like, I think the more global anime becomes, it loses out on something and it gains something in return. And I guess I don't know what the context of these comments are trying to make the end game of, trying to further isolate this to gatekeep it, or is it just trying to say like, well, technically, guys, it's not anime if this, and if it's just I don't know. It's a weird remark, but I see where both sides are coming from.
You got to
He
go
also
full.
he's also not even in a position to criticize what people consider like what anime should be, considering he has Chinese, Korean, cartoons, anime on his site. Crunchyroll carries all of those things. So if you are so like strict on this silly opinion, then why do you have link click on Crunchyroll? Why do you have solo leveling? Like, you were shilling solo leveling when it was coming out. So let's not be, splitting hairs here on what's giving you a ton of money.
Well, I mean, I think it's because Link Click is Link Click made by a Japanese studio?
No, it's a Chinese studio.
LAN Studio. It doesn't look Japanese. I'm not sure where that's based.
I think generally would
Shenzhen.
be
Yeah, it's not. That's not even. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I'll play devil's advocate, and then we can move on. But like listen, I lived in Japan. I've been to Japan like 12 times. I'm going to Japan again in December. It's official.
Nice.
And I need to get on that because I haven't booked hotels or anything. So that'll be twice in 1 year. And if Japan would just let foreigners in, I would move to Japan tomorrow and quit my job and never look back. And you guys would never hear from me again, probably.
And we would know you're living your best life. So.
And you would just be like, he's off living.
He's in a better place.
Because I love Japan that much. And when I watch anime, and I mean this with all respect in the world, I've been to China 3 times. I've been to Korea. Korean food is god tier. It is sexual. It's so good. And as a man, the women in all 3 countries are very beautiful, very nice. But I am not really interested in watching anime that's culturally Chinese or culturally Japanese or culturally Korean rather, or set in China or set in Korea. I just don't want that. That's not what I'm here for. I want to see the Japanese trains. I want to hear the music at the crosswalks. I want to see the buildings in Tokyo. I want them to refer to like areas of Japan that I've been to, and I'm not really interested in having that same thing from China because I don't have the emotional attachment or the knowledge of China or Korea to really appreciate what the hell they're talking about. So if they start when you'll notice that I never pick these Chinese shows for impressions because I don't know dick about it, and other than the puppet thing, that was Japanese though. Ultimately, they did that. But I don't know if you guys feel that way, but like I'm just not interested in watching an anime that's set in Shanghai. I don't know shit about it, even though I've been there. I'm just not interested in it.
I'm all for someone preferring Japanese sourced material and just, part of what drew you to the medium was probably that inherent style and storytelling. And like, I'm not going to say, oh, no, you have to watch everything, but I don't know, to try to limit what anime's potential can be seems creatively bankrupt in a lot of ways. So we're getting 70 anime a season.
It's way too many.
I'm pretty sure, I'm not going to argue that, but I'm sure that for every ambitious, Indian, African, Canadian crossover thing that we might get in the future one day, we're still going to get the classics we know and love to rag on for being the same old Japanese club storyline. So I think there's enough anime for everyone. If you want to be a technical person and just argue the semantics of what is anime, we can have that argument every day. But I think at the end of the day, is the show's good or bad? And that's the big thing I care about.
I don't think they're going to have a choice, personally. Because the population of Japan is dropping by 800,000 a year. And most of that population is very old. And I think that if you want to have anime made at this kind of rate, and everybody's always trying to increase revenue. They're never going to be satisfied with revenue going backwards. That just doesn't happen in industry unless it's a failing industry, right? It's always shareholders. They always want more money, right? There's always needs to be a growth rate or a return. If they want anime to continue to grow the way it has been at 5 or 6% a year, or whatever it was, they're not going to have the manpower inside of Japan to make this many shows every year. So they will inevitably have to go to other countries to make anime because they don't have the fucking workforce for it. So unless they're going to import them all into Japan and assimilate other countries into their own like labor force, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they're going to have any option, if you want my opinion. So.
All right.
Although I do have another article here that I'm not going to talk about, but they are actively using AI to draw anime's backgrounds now. So that really was upsetting. I know you guys.
Haven't we already seen that with like that, like post-apocalyptic boy, like 5-minute short thing. I think we've started seeing this already.
I don't know, but it's happening in major studios now. Like they said, I think Orange is starting to adapt it, and there's some other studios. I'm not going to get into it; it's just too much. But yeah, it's they're probably going to use AI to replace the fact that they don't have the actual labor force in Japan, so they're going to try to buoy it. Caroline,
Yeah, what would you rather do?
Have foreigners doing
What would you rather do? Yeah.
But let's have a computer program do this stuff. Perfect.
I just want less anime. I think 70 is ridiculous. You can't watch 70. There's not enough paint. There's not enough computers in the whole country to make 70 anime. Why are you even trying? I'm happy with half that number and with a little bit more effort put behind each of them. But I don't seem to have anybody agreeing with me usually. So we can move on. Caroline, what you got?
Okay, Jujutsu Kaisen got a couple of news pieces for them. So on Sunday, they revealed that the hidden inventory / premature death arc from the second season, so that'd be like the first 5 episodes or so, of Jujutsu Kaisen, will be getting a compilation film next year. And honestly, I think that portion of the second season was kind of well presented to become a movie. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, I suppose it's just because they did Jujutsu Kaisen 0 that they're like, well, let's not do back-to-back movies of canon events. And that's why they inserted into second season, because it is such a different part of the second season compared to the Shibuya incident.
And it's so good. It's the best part.
And that portion is really solid. So I think it will lend itself well to a compilation film. I don't think I'll go see it because I don't really, want to do movie ticket prices for something I've already seen. But yeah, that should be pretty good. I wonder if they'll do any, cleanups of any scenes, maybe inserting some new stuff. I don't know.
They will probably undoubtedly touch things up.
Yeah. So that will be coming out next year. And also coming up for Jujutsu Kaisen, the manga will be ending in 5 chapters on September 30th.
Say it ain't so.
It is so. It's
No.
finishing up. And it's
No.
finishing up quickly.
It can't happen.
Although I think last year they kind of teased that it will be finished by the end of this year. So I think we all been kind of expecting that. But yeah, I have kept myself very in the dark on what actually happens in this manga, but I do feel like there are things that I've gotten like whispers that it's like something major is happening. Of course it is, because it's like it's ending soon, but I really don't know what it could possibly be. So that's pretty exciting. Another big big manga finishing up.
Now,
Yeah, My Hero Academia finished. Jujutsu
My
Kaisen's
Hero,
finishing.
yeah.
I love it. I love when these long-running shonens end. I think that's
Crazy
a
that they kind
great
of happen
sign.
back to back, like My Hero
Yeah.
and Jujutsu Kaisen.
but how far are we in the anime from catching up to the manga, to the finishing point?
I don't know.
So there's gonna be what, 28-ish volumes of manga. I honestly don't
math.
know how far we got with season 2.
Yeah, I don't want to look it up right now. I'm kind of, but I wonder.
You don't know? No one knows.
I don't know. I don't read the
Not off the
manga.
top of my head.
Come on, Mason.
Okay, if you
I'll
really
look it up
want
right
to,
now.
no,
right
Mason,
now.
You're not from-
you got a big news, so I'll look it up. I
Not-
will bite the bullet and do it.
Neither of you are from West Virginia. You can both read. I assume you
Yeah,
read manga.
Barely.
Come on.
Barely.
The listeners are like, "What is he talking about?" Yeah, I am from West Virginia and I can't read. It's true.
There you go.
It's very sad.
Well, Caroline, if you've already seen Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 and you don't want to spend money on movie tickets for something that's just a compilation, there is 2 movies coming out that G Kids is licensing, and I'm so excited that we're getting both of them, not only this year, but so quickly after they came out in Japan, because so many times a movie will come out in Japan and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I can't wait 2.5 years to watch it in the States because it takes forever for things to sometimes come over. But the 2 big announcements that G Kids had, one of which was at Anime NYC that we were at. First up, they will be releasing the upcoming film Look Back, which is the kind of OG manga by the creator of Chainsaw Man, Fujimoto. So it's only like 58-ish minutes or so. So it's a pretty short movie. Nonetheless, I really love the manga. Very excited to see it. It's actually the first production by the new studio called Studio Durian, which is a very funny name. It's
Terrible
going with
fruit. Come on.
theme. But so yeah, that movie came out in June of 2024, and it will be coming out in the States in October. So early October. So, oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I will definitely be watching this as soon as I can.
How excited are you?
Like 8 out of 10 excited.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I think it will. I think it's a story that will lend itself very well, especially the ending, to the animated form, and I'm very excited to see how it looks.
I don't think I've ever been this excited. You're excited. Feel these nipples.
There you go.
Okay, I got an answer.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear the
Let's hear
answer.
it. Okay.
So where season 2 ended, it ended on chapter 138 from volume 16. And there is apparently
So we're like halfway there.
26 volumes.
But if the
there's a lot more.
second half of the manga is more action oriented, those can be adapted at a quicker rate than more dialogue heavy stuff. So maybe 2 more seasons, give or take. I don't know.
They could start doing Jujutsu Kaisen, the final season, part 1, chapter 3, 2.0.
Extended. Yeah.
Ended. Director's cut.
Good to know we have a lot
Uncensored.
more coming. Well, not have. Oh my goodness, I've heard so much good stuff about the manga. But the other movie I'm excited for is Science Saru will be coming out with The Colors Within, aka Kimi no Iro, in winter of 2024. And this is done by the legendary Naoko Yamada director that I'm very excited for. Probably 7 out of 10 because I don't know the source material. But this came out in Japan. Not even yet. It's coming out in 5 days. So we're getting it just a couple months after. Once again, I like these quick transitions. So 2 movies I will definitely be seeing. Thank you, G Kids. I love you. Watch more movies, people.
Yeah, I still haven't watched that Slam Dunk yet. Man.
Isn't it coming to Netflix? Thought it was coming
God.
to
Oh,
Netflix.
fuck me. I hope it does. See, this is
In which
one of
case
those.
you have no excuse.
See, sometimes Pancake jumps in and disrupts what I'm watching, and she'll be like, "I want to watch that," and then I have to pause it, and I'm happy to watch stuff with Pancake, but the best thing about Pancake is that she's so much younger than me that she hasn't seen nearly what I have, so I have all this cool shit I can show her. It's kind of like I'm raising my wife properly. I'll say that much. It's perfect.
Weird way to put it, Mitz.
Yeah. So
Like you don't have a
Mitz.
child bride, Mitz.
I went to
Sometimes it feels like
Netflix.com
that.
right now, and I'm watching the first Slam Dunk as we speak.
It's on the first Slam Dunk's on Netflix right now.
It's on Netflix right now.
So can Pancake watch this and get anything out of it? I can't remember. Or is this like a tack on at the end that she has to see the whole show?
She can watch it without anything.
Okay, all right.
Like, it's a standalone. Like, yes, she won't know all the characters, but she can still appreciate it. The basketball scenes are the best that anime has ever produced, and you watching alongside her could be like, "Oh, I remember when that happened," kind of thing, and it wouldn't ruin anything. So, watch it, please, people. God, it's so good.
So I was telling the crew here, but when I signed on, I was like, I destroyed my TV when I was in transit. And but the thing about TVs, and I don't want to make anybody sad, but you should never buy an expensive TV because they crash in price so hard. I was just saying, you remember, but it's like 4 or 5 years ago, a 4K TV was expensive as hell, and I just bought a 50-inch 4K TV for my bedroom for literally the price of like 8 New York strips. It was like ridiculous. I mean, and brand new, good brand, everything on Amazon. I'm like, yeah, you can now get a 50-inch 4K TV for like $200. And I'm just like, so I'm gonna be in bed watching a Slam Dunk. It's gonna be so good. But yeah, the other day I'm supposed to watch Baki the Grappler for Raggedy Doctor, and I'm really behind. So the reason why I was watching Rising Impact the other day is because I was gonna watch Baki the Grappler. And my wife comes in and she goes, "What are you watching?" And I go, "Baki the Grappler." And she's like, "Oh, I want to watch men beat each other half to death." So she's all into like UFC and all that. And I was like, "Okay, fine." And I had to now I got to save Baki the Grappler and watch it at night. And
I love how she can't watch this stuff on her own,
no, she just wants to watch it with me. Yeah, it's cute, very cute, but Pocket the
Oh,
Grandpa's cool.
so sweet.
Meanwhile, you're like, you can't watch anything because Pancake will come in and say, like, stop watching that. We're watching that later.
Yeah, Captain Avatar bought a 65-inch 4K TV for only $400. This is so
Wow.
insane. Oh my god, I'm so glad stuff's getting cheaper, at least TVs. Okay, so thank you, Mason, for
Thank you for looking up the Jujutsu Kaisen info, Caroline.
You're welcome. It was actually a lot easier than I thought. I was expecting, like, oh, I have to read through the Wikipedia page to find out. But no.
Well, but
I
see, but
figured
you
out.
were more of a man than either of us because we were like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
I was
I'm too
already,
scared.
I don't want to do it. But, you know, I did what had to be done. And now I think we are ready to talk about what we have been watching.
Oh boy, almost nothing.
I got quite a few things.
Yeah,
Well,
what the
I
fuck,
thought that we
people?
were going to be doing this topic like 2 weeks ago, and I had time that week, so I was just
Look at you.
like, I was like a mad woman. I was watching this, watching that, completing this, completing that. I was like checking everything off of my currently watching list that I have been watching technically for months.
Isn't
Finally
that such a
finished
good
up.
feeling?
It's so good. It's so
You're
good.
free.
Like spring cleaning.
You're unshackled. Yeah.
But now, several weeks later, I'm wondering if I have enough, like to, you know, actual opinions of these shows. To be honest,
Well, I've seen most of these, so I can chip in if there's anything.
yeah.
But,
I also
lead
see
us
that you're
off.
biting off of one of the things that I got into recently, and I can't wait to talk about, hear your thoughts about it.
Ooh.
Wow. Wow.
You go first, though.
Wow.
Okay, because I do have quite a few things here. What should I pick? Okay, coming off of like recent discussions, I mean, like maybe a month or two ago, of anime that I should have seen but just don't because I don't feel like getting into it, even though I want to watch it. One of them being Land of the Lustrous. Like, I literally watched it almost immediately after we discussed how I have not seen it.
Oh, Mason loves that
Um,
one.
Yeah, we were watching it
do.
for Anime Club. And I was really excited because I'm like, you know, you hear so many great things about it. And it was actually a little bit different than I was expecting. Like, if I were to describe this show, it feels so indie, you know? Like, it
It's
doesn't
very
feel,
alien.
It doesn't feel like it follows the rules of typical anime. Or at least, like, it just doesn't feel like it. I can't really describe why.
Why do you think
And
Mason
not even
loves
just
it?
because of the animation, which is, like, famous for being, like, some of the best representation of CGI, being fully CGI in anime. And yeah, it looks great. I really liked Foe. I thought she was freaking hilarious, and all of her like memeable moments were just so great. And then I don't want to, you know, spoil anything because, you know, obviously everybody should see Land of the Lustrous at some point. Like, there are major developments to Foe throughout the season. I don't really like how she develops, to be honest. Like, I liked her personality at the beginning, and I understand for reasons it changes. But yeah, I kind of miss my old girl Foe, to be honest.
What?
Now, I laugh because we just talked about, Jujutsu Kaisen, like, the anime is so good, but we're not caught up on the manga, so we don't know where it goes. That's where I'm sitting on the manga reader side right now, not because Land of the Lustrous has finished, sometime this year, actually, recently, the manga.
Oh.
And the anime is just like the sandbox of like, baby's first Foz is being, she's
Wait,
she's
was
such
I
a
calling her
cutie.
Foe the entire name? Her name is Foz. Sorry.
I mean, it's short for phosphorylate, so like
Yeah.
you can just short it a little bit more. It's fine. It's fine. Where the manga goes is insane to the point of like, if there's one season that needs an anime, like it needs to be that because it goes places in a way that is unique. But even without that, it's an absurdly amazing show that does not feel like any other anime out there. From the way it's paced, from the way the characters kind of just exist in the world, it's just an odd show that leaves you kind of with an itch that only it can scratch. So I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, there are certain parts that I could have a bit of criticism about.
Of course.
I feel like throughout the show, there are some major emotional moments, like some turmoil that happens to some of these characters, but I don't really feel that attachment to them. I don't really feel like yeah, these characters talk to each other and they're pretty friendly to each other, but I didn't quite grasp their I just couldn't feel it very well, you know?
There's some odd
I was
emotional
not
beats,
invested on
especially
them.
early on. I think you're correct though. Like, you're supposed to be like, Foz is kind of annoying, and by the end you're like, oh, I kind of miss how she was.
Yeah.
That's the correct takeaway at that point. Like, you don't come away from this feeling warm and fuzzy. You come away from the show feeling wizened and
Jeez.
at one with the universe.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Well, what I was talking
God
about
damn
before,
it.
like that critique, it was more about like a character might die, but and people would act a certain way, but I would feel kind of empty about it. Like me feel empty about it, and I also feel like they kind of feel it doesn't really. It's
Well,
not.
they're
There's
just a
not a lot
bunch
of
of
gravity
rocks.
to it. I feel they're just rocks. You're
They're
yeah,
just
you're
rocks.
right.
They're just gems.
They're just rocks.
I mean, we have a
digging
lot of
it.
shows to get through.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah,
know
no
if
shit,
you want to
Caroline
hang up
was
on
wrong.
it too much, but
Yeah,
overall, what would you give
Caroline's
Land
all-
of the Lustrous, or at least on a recommendation scale?
Break him.
Let me see if I
Give
can
it a 4 and break
one
him.
second.
Oh, I would take a 4. Like, I
Give
think
him.
I have
Give
it
it a 3
4.
then.
What did I
Most
give
of
it?
my love comes from the manga, and like retrospectively enjoying the anime, but it's still amazing. But what would you give it?
I gave it on Mal. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
So that's like a show that I liked, but
That's pretty
not
decent.
a show that like I really,
Oh,
really,
7
really
out of 10.
liked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tara's savage.
To other people's scales, that might seem terrible, but because we watch, it's all relative to everything else I've seen. So in like our review scale, because even though we could just divide it by 2 and that would be the review, like that's
As
a 3
you
out of 5.
should.
A 3 out of 5 out of 5. I guess I don't know. I feel like it should be closer to a 4. So it's weird in that way. Like I'm not going to give it an 8 on Mal, but I'll give it a 4 out of 5 on our review scale. Yeah, it's between a 3.5 and a 4, I would say.
You're an interesting lady, Caroline.
Listen,
But
doesn't
thank you for
every-
watching it. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Is both of your lists completely correct compared to your review scores?
Yes.
No.
Yes,
No,
absolutely.
No.
Even if I don't like it in my soul, I keep it that way for posterity and to make a statement.
It just feels different. Even though it's mathematically equal, it just feels different.
Listen, I'm such a grumpy prick compared to how I used to be. I used to be like, oh my god, all-purpose Katro Kakro Nuku 9 out of 10, so amazing. I'm like, 18 years old on my anime list or whatever. Now it's like, Kakro show, episodic, dumb, 2 out of 10. Oh my god.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, Mitz,
Yeah.
how about you go next?
Well, this will come up later. I would like to do a topic later on about anime with the best for opening episodes. I don't know if we've done that lately, but it's been a while. I don't know. This anime podcast is so fucking old. You can't survive if you don't repeat things. I think that I watched this with Pancake last night. It was my apology for spending the entire night setting up my home theater. I think that Outlaw Star has one of the best first episodes I've ever seen in an anime. And I only watched 2 episodes of it last night, but Outlaw Star's first episode is so incredible that I would say it's as good as any anime. As maybe not as good as any anime, but it's in the top, the best 5% of anime's opening episodes. And for people that don't know what Outlaw Star is, it's kind of old. It's like a late 90s outer space anime with incredible characters that are so fucking good. Because the characters really make the show anyway, right? And Studio Sunrise is the studio, and they as always are unrivaled in machine and ship and mecha drawings. They are unbelievable at drawing spaceships and like weapons with like working machines in them and stuff. It's just fantastic. I mean, you have everything from a scene where Gene Starwind takes on a bounty inside of a bar and has like a knife fight with them. It has a gun chase with pirates, or like a car chase with pirates. It has scenes of childhood going into outer space. Gene Starwind himself is an insanely great character. The music is fantastic. It literally ends with them like going into space. I mean, it's just an unbelievable anime. And people really need to go back and check out Outlaw Star if you haven't seen it. It is older, but it looks fine. And man, I tell you, it's like there aren't other anime like this coming out where ships with arms that can grapple fight, like battle in outer space for like pirate treasure and shit. I mean, that aren't like an episodic, incoherent type of story, because it does have a story, and right down to Gene Starwind like having like PTSD because his father died in a pirate attack when they were in space, and so he's like afraid of going into space. I mean, like, it has like depth of character. It's so good. And I thought it was nostalgia goggles, but it's not. Outlaw Star holds up really well, and it is fucking great. Mason, Caroline, have you guys seen Outlaw Star?
So I've seen a bit of it, and I have not finished it because to me it started off strong, and after the first couple episodes it kind of drops off, gets a little too fillery, a little too like it doesn't keep up that amazing charm it had at the beginning, and so I dropped it. I don't recall the first episode being like strong, but I remember like being like, oh yeah, this is pretty solid, before being like, I don't maybe like it as much anymore. So I can't vouch for the first episode, but it was fine while I was watching it. Do you think it holds up throughout the whole run? Because I think it's a 2-core show, right?
I think it has a bangable cat girl in it. I mean,
I can't.
Come on, it
can't debate
matters.
that.
What do you want me to do? I think it does have fillery episodes. Like, there's definitely a hot spring episode towards the end of it for no reason, and stuff like that. So it's not a perfect anime, but it is extremely unique. I mean, come on, he's got a gun that shoots magic bullets. That like, and Sunrise is totally happy making like the machine parts in it spin and whir as it like he shoots it. It's fucking awesome. It is funny though. I also showed Pancake the first episode of Crest of the Stars. And the same like the night before that, and she was so bored. I was like, oh no.
Listen, they can't all be winners.
She was like, I'm tired, and you showed me this political fucking bullshit. I was like, oh my god, okay. That's about it.
Cool. She just wants more shirtless dudes, and can you blame her? I can't.
No, I mean, no. Shit, I might take my shirt off right now if you're so inclined.
Let's go for it.
I'm wearing pants, but that doesn't mean I can't take my shirt off.
Gotta pay extra for that Mitts and Pink Monster romance. The
That's
Dojins
true.
just don't write themselves anymore.
Save it for the OnlyFans.
Yeah, if you want to, we're gonna open up an Only Addicts. If you want to see the goods,
And Only Addicts.
you gotta lay down the fucking. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Addicts.
Yeah.
They're addicted to us, the addicts.
And if you subscribe to that, you have to pay extra for us to not say your name on the next episode. So you got to pay extra for anonymity.
We have it all figured out. We'll be millionaires.
Exactly. We'll get you real good. Okay, I will go next, and I think this is the one that Caroline was the most excited to talk about. So let's talk Yatagarasu. The Raven Does Not Choose Its Master, which I will argue, not to be all the titles suck. Not a huge fan of the title. It doesn't really reach out at you. I mean, I remember seeing the show when we were doing our spring 2024, impressions, and just being like, oh, this looks like a generic fantasy show. Like, what? Like, I didn't even give this show a second look at it until our Discord was really popping off with not even saying what it was, just like reaction faces and being like, did you see the latest episode? Oh my god. Do you see what's happening now?
All caps everywhere.
Sometimes our Discord is onto something. Not always, but sometimes they can smell. They're like a truffle pig. They're going into places we don't overreach. And do you want to explain it, or do you want me to?
I mean, it's your choice. It's your topic here, so I don't want to steal it.
Yeah. So this show, it's 20 episodes long, and there's a bit to it. Don't come in expecting a relaxing show of just, fantasy lands with different political structures, kind of like there's a pretty involved 2-part plot between 4 like consorts all trying to gain the hand of marriage of the emperor, and this boy from like one of the tribes who gets kind of brought on as a aid assistant sort of person to said emperor. And these kind of tell these very divergent, or they come together, but two different stories that are wrapped up in politics, romance, subterfuge,
Intrigue.
warfare, transforming people who can turn into these three-legged crows. And that's not a sex thing. It's just it kind of is, but it kind of
The hell
isn't.
kind of a crow has
Okay,
3
so-
legs?
No, but just one moment. Yatagarasu, which is the title of the show, they're also known as the Yatagarasu people who can turn into these 3-legged crows. They're giant too. Yatagarasu is an actual mythical creature in like Shintoism, and it is a 3-legged crow.
Look at
So that's where
you.
it comes from. I've looked at Wikipedia.
But how the fuck does that work? What is it, like a tripod?
It's sticking
it's
out
not
right where you would expect a third
Right in
leg
its
to
dick?
be.
Right.
Right, it's
And
a
like
dick slot?
that
Kind of,
third power like enables transformation. It's
Maybe it's just a penis and you just think it's
So
a third leg.
an interesting part about the Yatagarasu is that like the ability, like becoming a raven is like there's this whole societal stigma about transforming in front of a woman. So like one time one of the servants like transformed in front of one of the consorts, and he was about to get killed for doing that, even though they can all do it. And then there's people that break the law and like or are severely in debt, so they are like they have, if you tie something around the third leg, you are trapped in that form forever. And they are made as like they fly people who can all turn into birds, but they fly people to wherever they need to go.
I mean,
and that is,
honestly,
like,
the whole Raven aspect doesn't add much to the show.
it really
like
isn't that big a deal.
it's
in
kind of
itself.
just a little bit of flavoring to spice it up, but the
It's
heart
like-
of the show,
show you their society,
Sure.
and it's certain in a different way.
it's about the interpersonal conflicts and the different, goals and ambitions that all the characters have. And it's really well done. It looks good, it sounds good. The mood and atmosphere, the pacing is really preserved. And a lot of times in these kind of shows, you get the A story of the fighting and the boys off doing action stuff, and then it switches to the dainty girls in the palace talking about romance and stuff, and you're like, ugh.
Oh, what's
You're
wrong
not
with the
talking
dating
about
girls?
boring.
You're talking about world domination.
Exactly. Like a lot of times there's a weaker part and a stronger part to the show, and this show does a really good job of keeping both engaging, interesting, and referencing each other, and giving you clues to mysteries that make the reveals, hit hard while not being, too obvious or too just like, and the murderer was the guy's brother the whole time, and you're like, who's the guy's brother? Like, it really, the show makes this kind of plot look easy, but there is probably a ton of thought and planning and work to make the show work as well as it does, and I really appreciate that. I've been enjoying it. I've got just a couple episodes left, and
Yeah,
if I
I'm
had to
also a
review it,
couple
I'd give it a good
episodes behind.
score. And best going in blind, I would recommend it. If it's not really bouncing off you after the first couple episodes, it's probably not for you. But I feel like it has paid off. It's earned the 20 episode runtime because it's got a lot going on, and it's good. Don't sleep on it, Yatagarasu. I'd say I'd recommend it.
I will also say one thing, like when you're watching it at first, they will throw like a lot of name cards, a lot of location cards at you, and it's really confusing. So that is one thing about it that you kind of have to work through. After a couple episodes, it's not too bad because they will somehow remind you like what's going on, and maybe a little Wikipedia ing can't hurt a little bit just to keep track of
You
something.
gotta bring
but-
your noodle to this.
yeah, bring your noodle. Yeah. And it's worth it, It's really fleshed out. So I am planning on doing like a review of this on Waifu Lifu. You're more than welcome to join, Mason, even though you are a husband.
I'm not waifu or lifu.
Is it like a
What were you gonna
12?
say, Mitz?
Is it like a 12 Kingdoms deal where they refer to the same person by like 4 different names?
A little bit, not as bad. Like
Yeah,
the
not as
emperor
long.
is called the emperor, his first name. The Kinyu, like there's a couple different terms, but you're split up between the northern territory, the South, East, West. They all have different representatives and different people, and
Different
it's more of just
lords and
understanding the
ladies and
structure of this
familial
society.
relations. All right,
Mitz.
and Mitz, you want to go? I know you were kind of dealing with something for the last few minutes.
Yeah, so I have podcast equipment that's probably not very interesting, but I have an electricity conditioner. I don't know if you guys know what that means.
Nope.
It basically doubles as a surge protector and it smooths out the electrical currents or whatever so that it doesn't make any weird noises or something like that. I don't know. But it also has an off switch on the front of it that didn't used to be right under my feet, and now it is, and every single thing is plugged into that. And so I happened to flick that off and shut off like 14 devices simultaneously. So that was great.
From now on, I'm going to picture Mitz like up in a high chair, just like kicking his feet like a little kid while he's podcasting, and he just. That's okay.
Yeah, whatever. It's a shit show. I just moved in here. So I watched all of Rising Impact. We'll do a review on this later. People were talking, including me, were talking about how obnoxious the main character is. And the bottom line is you just can't watch this show dubbed. It's a terrible dub. It's one of the worst dubs I've ever heard. And if you watch Rising Impact, which is that new golf anime, do not watch it dubbed. I don't think you'll get far enough into it to get to the part that's good. Now, what you may not realize is that the second core of this anime is one of the highest rated shows of this season. Which you would never guess, because it starts off kind of lame, and the main character is a little kid, and his voice is horrendous. But the second half of this is really strong, and it definitely detaches from anything resembling reality for golf. It definitely heads into like Kuroko no Basket territory, but I do think of the 3 golf anime we've had recently, this is the best one. And I think it has the highest reviews online of the 3. So I think it does justify it. I mean, it gets a little ridiculous though. I mean, it gets to the point where they're talking about some guy's chip-in rate from 150 yards and how it's like 70%. And,
just absurd, yeah.
Yeah, and at the end, the main character is like chipping the ball in from 300 yards, and he's hitting the ball so hard that it's bouncing around inside the cup and it breaks the flag off and it falls over. It's just super crazy. But they do actually give a fuck about golf, unlike Birdie Wing. No offense to people who like Birdie Wing. And I didn't really watch much of the other one, but they'll do what they should. They will show you at the start of a hole, they'll show you the hole like on like a diagram and tell you the yards and tell you the features of the hole, and then they will actually play the hole. Like they will take turns hitting.
In my golf anime?
You actually see them playing golf for the most part, and they don't just hit the blue bullet from the tee and then just do like a 15 hole montage. So they do actually spend some time, like, because they do a lot less with it. It's really just a show where they, he goes to like Tokyo to train. They have 4 or 5 episodes at the school, and then they just start playing this tournament, and then that's the whole show. So they have the time to go through the tournament. It's at least 12 episodes long, and it has some zany characters in it. I mean, but I actually thought it was pretty good by the end of it. I don't want you guys to give up. I don't want people to give up on it.
Is it finished?
It is. It's all on Netflix.
Well, I assume that's why the scores are so good. Is like the first couple episodes, whatever, filtered people out, so they're low scores, or they just dropped it and it doesn't count. And the people who stuck with it really enjoyed it.
You could be right.
It.
So the first.
But either way, that's a good sign that there's something to live for besides high pitched voices.
For.
The first core has a 7.5 on Mal. No one watched it. It only has 3,800 reviews. And then the second one has almost an 8, and it only has 2,200 reviews. So it's almost a little more than half. But people who didn't stick with it are going to be disappointed because I thought this was a fairly strong... It's still not what I wanted. I still want just the Hot Shots Golf tournament with Rage of Bahamut sort of vibes. Carefree, sort of just fun. You know what I mean? But we didn't quite get that. But, this show does have its overly, like, emo characters, and they're overly serious. And there's Americans in it that all talk, like, with a Western accent, and they have with like an American accent, and they all have cowboy hats, you know, and it's silly like that. But and then the British people are all have British accents in the dub at least.
Not British accents for the
Well, there's-
Brits.
You know how
That makes no sense.
and like the
No.
American
What?
guys
And
are
Australian
blonde.
sounded Australian.
What has the world come to?
Do I have like a screaming? What is this? I have there you go. The humanity. That's the only drop I had. Happy Halloween.
That's some kind of a weird scream.
It also looked okay. I mean, it is. There's some ridiculous, unrealistic shit in it. Like honestly, I think he breaks off part of the most ridiculous thing I think I saw was other than the fact that he goes straight up like, basically Goku, whatever the fuck is Ultra Instinct at the end of it, pretty much. But he does like break part of a cliffside off with his golf ball, like halfway halfway through it. I'm like, he hits it so hard it shatters the cliff. I'm like, bro, a golf ball weighs like 4 grams or something. Like you're not gonna do anything. You can't do anything with a golf ball.
Wouldn't it make more sense for the golf ball to be completely dented in from the impact of that swing if it was going to break off a cliff? I'm applying logic here to a show that is not logical. I'm sorry.
I mean, I wanted it to be more realistic and just they could make a realistic golf anime without making it goofy. Like you could do a lot with just spin, the suspense of whether or not a putt will go in. Like they could do a lot with it, but they haven't chosen to do that yet. But I really want people to not give up on Rising Impact. I don't think it's like the best thing fucking ever, but I do think it's the best golf anime we've had. So there you go.
Nice.
And they do focus on golf the whole time. They're not talking about like, what the hell was Birdie Wing about? Like, oh, there was a whole section about like people trying to buy her, the mafia and all this other nonsense. It's the VR game and all this other shit. There's none of that's in this. And this anime is extremely shonen. So Mason, you'll probably hate it, but
yeah, probably. Though I'm hoping that Sora Iro Utility is going to be good, which is an upcoming golf one, because the person is a beginner.
Jesus.
And then I think it's like a 15-minute special or something that's come out. Like she sucks. Like she sucks in the way a beginner would suck. Like doofing it off the tee, just like fat hitting it. It's. I hope that one's good. I don't think it will be, but golf has potential. Goofy characters, realistic sports. That's what I want. So
one golf anime came out, and we got 4 more of them or 3 more of them. One hockey anime came out, and we have nothing. So anyway, we're running extremely long. How many of you guys done? Have we all done at least 2?
I have done 2.
Mason?
I've done 2, and I'll just do one more really quick, and we can call it.
Okay. I only
Oh.
had 2, so.
I have so many.
Well, you gotta save them. You have ammunition for next time.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I'll remember.
That's fine. That's fine. This will be super quick because Mitsugi comes on here, big talk, saying he's got a big TV, big projector, all this time to watch anime. Still hasn't watched. Do you know what? Still has not
Bebop
watched
High School?
Bebop High School.
I'm gonna get to it now. Oh
and
my god.
so to pressure him even more,
For fuck's sake.
I'm going to lay down
I thought you loved
another delinquent anime.
Ah.
Shonen Bakuzokozu. Or Bakusozoku. Bakusozoku. It's great. It's so good.
Okay.
And this is not shonen SHONEN, like, young boys. It's shonan, like that area of Japan. And it's about this biker gang with great flashy red jackets that go around racing, getting in fights, getting those smooches, just being being delinquents with hearts of gold,
I love smooches.
Because essentially this story starts off with our main character, Yosuke, great delinquent name. He's in the sewing club. He just is a peaceful dude who runs this like legendary 5-person gang of all the top delinquents, and they just ride around and get into all goofs and gaffs. All these episodes, like Bebop High School, look phenomenal. Sounds so retro and cool. This is from the 80s, and each episode is 50 minutes long, so they're long episodes.
Why you do this?
And it's way more of a gag comedy than Cowboy Bebop And I would say Cowboy Bebop is better, or not Cowboy Bebop, Bebop High School, sorry. But if you like the delinquent vibe, if you want more of it, and want a bit of a chuckle, Shonen Bakuzozoku has been pretty fun so far, and it just looks so aesthetic, and it's so cool.
That must be a play on the word basozoku, which I learned when I was living in Japan because we had one of those near my house, which basically means biker gang. So I don't know what a Bakuhasu means explosion, I think.
Yeah, so they're often called like the Shonen bombers is like what it's translated to. So it's probably a mix of the two. And it's really lovable. The characters are fun. It's goofy. It's just a lot of good little gags and jokes to it, and just a lot of highly detailed motorcycle-based maintenance work. So like the engine blows, and you see them like tinkering and ordering parts and like loading it into the. It's got a lot of love behind it.
Cool.
Super retro and old school, and it's a fun time. And you can find it on the internets if you look. So. Good luck. And there's your indie hipster pick of the week.
Let's get to our in-show weekly trivia question. In Windbreaker, there are 2 rival gangs with animal logos on their jackets. What are those animals? And we will give you the answer right after the news break.
Oh, you didn't like my trivia question, huh?
No, because it didn't have a good answer.
I'm curious now, what was it?
It was, I think Satoru Nii, the guy who wrote Windbreaker. What other manga has he done?
That's an open-end question, I think.
There was only one other.
But he also did a one-shot, according to some sources. So.
Oh, for God's sake!
And also, like, no one read it. So there you go. There you go. Bonus trivia question. We'll see you after the news break. Bye.
Hey Anime Addicts, this is Mitsugi, and it's time for your anime news break. Getting us started off with some sad news. Renowned voice actress Atsuko Tanaka, best known for her role as Major Makoto Kusanagi in Ghost in the Shell, died on Tuesday. She was 61 years old. In a statement from her son, Hikaru Tanaka, he expressed his appreciation for all the fans and colleagues over the years, of course. People were curious about what she died from. At her request, he noted that they are not going to reveal the illness that she was battling. So that is not known and honestly probably not important. But we are sad to see her go. She was born in 1962 in Gunma, and she was inspired to be a voice actress by Yukiko Nikaido, the voice of Fujiko Mine from Lupin the Third, and has had a great career. But we are sad to see her go. Next up in the news, it looks like we have the manga Witch Watch is getting a TV anime in 2025. So if you're a fan of Witch Watch, it looks like a pretty cute show with some pretty nice art. You're going to be getting a anime of this in the spring of 2025. It's going to be directed by Hiroshi Ikehata of Tonikaku Kawaii. So I don't know what not my favorite anime in the world, but hopefully this will be better. By Studio Beebury Animation Studios. The synopsis is about a girl who finishes her 6 years of witch training and is moving back to town by herself. And as a new witch, she must choose a familiar to accompany her. However, unlike other witches, she wishes to pick a non-animal familiar, so there's no better companion than her childhood friend, who happens to be an ogre. So if you are a fan of this manga or witches or whatever, look out, because Witch Watch is coming out pretty soon. Next up in the news, it looks like for the first time in nearly 3 years, the Berserk manga is going to be returning to the U.S. with a new manga volume. It looks like the last volume they came out was volume number 41. It was revealed that 42 will be coming out on March 18th, 2025. So you still do have quite a while to wait until then. Dark Horse Comics revealed at the news at Anime NYC, which of course just happened recently. And for big fans of the Berserk manga, you will at least get one more volume of it here. So it looks like the 192-page paperback volume will match the size of previous volumes, so you won't have to worry about it fitting your prior collection. So look out for more Berserk coming out in the future. This was Mitsuki, and this was your anime news break. And now, as always, it's time to get back to the podcast. Hey, Anime Addicts. Well, I bring this message to you every week, but the podcast does need your support. We do our best to keep this show running every week to get you entertained throughout your busy work week. But hey, things are expensive and we need support. So if you want to help out the podcast, do a good thing, get all of our bonus content, you can go to aapodcast.com/join or patreon.com. It does help us out a lot. We do have quite a lot of expenses to keep this thing running, mostly IT-related expenses. But we do appreciate everything you can do for us. If you can't afford to offer any money to the podcast, you could at least tell a friend about the show. But if you do support the show, you're going to be getting our hentai episodes, our hobby addicts, and our after parties, where we do keep you updated on what's going on in hentai. We do get a little raunchy sometimes, and we do talk about what our hobbies are in our personal lives, which usually results in a lot of movie and video game talk. So if you're interested in all that, aapodcast.com/join or Patreon will get it to you. Help out the podcast, and we'll continue carrying you as well.
And now, great moments in Anime Addicts Anonymous history.
Joseph Joestar is so fucking jacked. He's on insane amounts of TRT. I mean, he has been juicing. I mean, forget Big Papa Pump, forget Hogan, all these fucking wrestlers. Joseph Joestar is jacked. He's been juicing. You could literally lift that rock off of Caesar.
That's probably why his mental capacity took a dive later in life.
He just couldn't get over the guilt.
Yeah, maybe.
Joseph's just like, you know what? He's such a great friend that I'm gonna pound on the top of this rock with this headband because I'm just so distressed. But, you know, I could easily lift this rock off of him and give him a proper burial, but fuck it. He's good where he is.
He could sense the life force.
His mom doesn't care. She doesn't need to have a gravestone to visit. You know, the children will not come crying. That, you know, people will not weep in the streets. We'll just leave him there. Fuck it. Welcome back to the podcast. In Windbreaker, there are two rival gangs with animal logos on their jackets. What are those animals? The lion, Shishitoren, and the dragon, which is Keel. I don't know what the hell this is the name of
Kiru.
it. I guess those are the gang names.
Yeah.
And if you want the answer to the secret bonus question that I so rudely deprived you of, the two manga series that Nii Satoru has worked on before is Secret Badminton Club from 2016 and Blade and Soul from 2014.
So the Badminton Club was the intended answer.
Yeah, the Blade and Soul one is
Bad
a
boy.
one-shot. And it's not on my anime list, but it's on mangaupdates.com, which is a site you can trust as any other, I guess. I don't know. But there you go.
I don't trust it.
Fake news. Sounds like it.
Fake
Mailbags?
Let's hit it.
Mailbags.
It's time for an almighty anime mailbag. Anime.
Mailbag. Your dances are getting worse. Ugh.
I forgot how to dance. It's been so long.
I see
My
that.
energy level is low. I'm doing the bare minimum with this.
Oh, for
with
God's
coffee
sake.
I've drank.
For the record, I was purposely doing a bad dance.
If anybody wants to
Allegedly.
play
I've had 2 days of boogieing the night away. I'm boogied out. Next week I'll come back with more boogie.
Okay. If anybody wants to play Pikmin Bloom with me, by the way, if you hit me up on the Discord, me and Pancake have been crushing the fuck out of some mushrooms. They need to be defeated anyway. Mailbags. If you want to submit a mailbag, aapodcast.com/mailbag. We have like hundreds and hundreds of mailbags in there. We got I'm sorry to those of you that wrote like tons of mailbags that we never get to, but listen, you know we only do 2 a week. If you write 30 mailbags at once, you know we're never going to get to them. So why do you do that? Yototo Vegeta writes, hey, AAA, what's up? What is your favorite, I don't know the right term for it, studio logo animation? I have a lot of favorites, but Gonzo was a great one. The sounds, the speed of the background of the logo, and the voice saying Gonzo got me pumped up for the upcoming show. So, I'm going to change my answer.
Yeah, both of your answers are objectively bad and wrong. So I'm curious.
That's a little rude.
Jeez.
Prove
Listen,
me
I was
wrong.
on the train coming back, and I was trying to think of my answer, and this is the only one I could think of at the time.
You want to tell me what it is, Caroline, so I can tell you why you're wrong?
Sure. Although I have thought of another one that I actually do kind of like, but not saying it's like the greatest, but you know. My answer is Mappa because I just remember it the most with like the music and the motorcyclist going.
Where it like shows on the back of their jacket?
Yeah.
That's not Mappa.
That's not Mappa?
That's Netflix. So any Netflix show will put the studio on the back of their jacket. So whether it's like whatever studio's doing the show, they just put they do the same motorcycle thing.
You just
But
got
the rest
served.
of it is what Mappa is. I also did just remember Aniplex. I like going Aniplex.
I mean, that's great. But that's also sound-based.
It's also not a studio.
Okay, chill out. He's not critiquing us here on what specifically
he is.
we
Have you
found.
met
He asked
Toto
for
Vegeta? He's
studio,
definitely
logo,
critiquing you.
animation. That's what the boy wants.
Very
Okay,
judging you.
Listen, Yutari Vegeta, I'm sorry, I did not completely answer your
He's
question
gonna fuck
correctly.
your shit up.
Mason, how about
This-
you go
this
ahead
was-
and you tell me how I'm such a big dum-dum.
This was a hard question because I was figuring I would just go to
Not
YouTube.
for me, it wasn't.
And there would be some compilation of like, here's all the animation studios. Here's like, here's what Wit does. Here's what Mappa does. Here's what Bones does. Here's what Sunrise does. And I could watch them all and be like, yeah, that's my favorite. And we really don't see them show up all the time. Like we see the credits where it says Wit Studio, but we don't usually see the beginning like Wit Studio animation the same way you might see like the Pixar, lamp bounce or the MGM lion before a presentation. So it's not as embedded in anime culture, I think. But for me, easy answer has to be Science Saru with that like little
get the
cute
fuck
walking
out.
monkey.
Oh, you're such a homer.
Oh my goodness, I love it because obviously Saru is Japanese for monkey, so it's a reference there. It's the character from Kimono Zume, one of Yuasa's first films, so it's like a callback to its roots, and it's just adorable. It's a cute little monkey. Like,
What a homer.
of course I'm gonna pick it. What's your pick, Mitz?
I like Nippon Animations. I like Toei Animations. The logo that has the triangle and the ocean. Very classic.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's what I like. Yeah, it's very classic.
Iconic.
Yeah, iconic. That's what
Okay.
I wanted. Yeah.
Good question, Yotaro.
That's a
Vegeta.
good question,
Can someone
though, yeah.
please make me a compilation video though of all these animation studios? I get they change, but ironically, for being animation studios, a lot of them aren't that animated. So anyway,
Yeah. Like
anyway, what's
like Ghibli's isn't animated at all. And they have some of the it's just Totoro.
yeah, great logo.
A
But-
great logo, but not animated. You failed.
They don't need to spend time and effort on something as trivial as that. They let
Clearly
the
not.
animation speak for themselves.
Clearly they didn't think they needed to give a shit. All right, the next mailbag. Go ahead, somebody.
Okay, we got this one from Grandpapa. I'm re-watching Tamayura Hitotose and wonder if Mason has watched it, and if he has, would he score it higher than its current 1.5? I liked it more than the host set of the time, and its perspective of the value of creativity as a culture rather than as a source of income. I've never heard of this show, so take it away, guys.
Yeah, I also don't want to mention. I think I said that was like Netflix's motorcycle thing, Caroline. I was mistaken. It's Twin Engine. It's like the production studio. So I was wrong myself. So I'm humbled.
It's okay, Mason. I really don't care.
Good. That's a correct response. Yeah, so this is kind of surprising. So I didn't know that this podcast reviewed Tamayura Hitotose. So I looked it up. Mitsugi reviewed this back on episode 116, back in the old days.
Wow.
It was just a Mitsugi.
Fuck, I had hair back then.
And he gave
What?
it a
You had
1.5
hair ever?
out of 5.
I've never seen you with hair before.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
a little bit.
horrifies my wife when she sees it. She's scarred forever every time.
Who's that?
Yeah,
It's like,
so
oh my god, I like you better bald. I'm like, well, that's good. I'm glad you didn't decide,
honestly, full disclosure, I'm surprised Mitsuki gave it such a high score.
What did I give it?
This is a 1.5 out of 5.
That's a pretty bad score.
That's a bad score, but I cannot think of shows that are less up your alley than Tamayura. So for the record, Tamayura is an excellent, astounding, probably highly recommendable 4-episode OVA that is just some of the most calming, soothing look into just 4 girls, Japanese countryside, just vibing in a town. It's so relaxing. It's so sweet. Each of the episodes are like 18-ish minutes long, so they're not even full-length episodes. Oh, it's just perfect. It just will just relax you like none other. So this is like the follow-up sequel series, and it's 12 episodes, full 22-minute length episodes, and it's definitely an inferior product. It's not bad. It just doesn't hit the same like genuine once-in-a-lifetime mark. It's done by the king of the relaxing shows, Junichi Sato, who did like Arya and Amanchu. If I had to rate Hitotose, I'd give it like a 2.5 or a 3 out of 5. I think it's pretty good. So end of the story. That's what I'd give it. Watch Tamayura if you like slow, relaxing moe-esque shows.
God, no wonder I gave it a 1.5.
And I honestly, if someone was like, "What would Mitz rank this?" I would say 1 tops. So, see, you are getting more curmudgeonly because I would have missed the mark there. But no,
Listen.
it's just girls taking photos.
Listen, this anime is just one in a long list of anime that came out right after K-On! That has 4 girls in it that just tried to piggyback on like the 4-girl hype and failed. Okay, so there you go. I mean, like Sora no Oto was another one of those that came out right after. I don't know. I could go look up more of them, but like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. Like, there are at least 10. So, whatever. But like, this anime made such an impression that I can't even remember it.
It's
honest
very
with you, so.
like take K-On! And take the energy level of that from like a 6 out of 10 to like a 1 out of 10. It's very low key. Thank you for the mailbags. And I know we have a lot, but some of them are kind of repetitive and old. So if you have a fresh idea, please send it. We'd love to see them. And send your confessions, send your hentai mailbags as well.
Yeah.
Send everything you got, and we will gladly
Topic
take it all.
requests.
Yeah.
We're always looking for those.
Yeah, we love hentai mailbags. We do. We love them. And we love hentai.
I think
You guys love them.
I
we
love
can
hentai.
now love
I am-
doing a review of
Yeah,
Windbreaker.
I love it long time. To
This is
buku.
a spring 2024 show that I failed back on episode 727, but the listeners, similar to what we read off at the top of the show today, brought it back from the dead for review. You can watch this on Crunchyroll, and it tells the story of Sakura, who was an outcast in his middle school, partially because of his personality and partially because of his appearance with his panda-like hair and his heterochromia, and kind of spurned by his desire to prove himself as, tough and competent. He transfers to Furin High School, which is this renowned super school of delinquents and tough guys, and he's aiming for the top spot. He wants to be the king of the castle, and we kind of follow his exploits through the school and all the riffraff that him and the gang get up to.
It's a good way to put it, riffraff.
Well, a lot of raffing about. This
Okay.
is directed by Akai Toshifumi from Fate Grand Order and the rest of the words that go with that title. It's done by Cloverworks. It's based on a manga. And what, Caroline, were your expectations going in?
I had absolutely zero expectations because I could not remember what was said about it in during the start of the season in impressions. I could not remember if you had passed it or who even had it on their list. I couldn't remember if it was listener choice, which was the other option. I couldn't remember what it was about, what the general consensus was about it, and I didn't even know any of this stuff. Like when I started the first episode, I'm like going in completely blind on what this show is.
And there's something to be said for that. Honestly, that's kind of the best way to go into any show, I believe. Mitsugi, how about yourself?
Absolutely nothing. You know, I don't look. Sometimes I know ahead of time, sometimes I don't. But I don't put forth an effort to look up stuff. So I'm either gonna know because it's a remake, or someone said some shit, or it's perfectly obvious, or maybe I did the impression. But if none of those is true, I'm not gonna look it up. And this is definitely not one where there was prior information I would say that I was aware of. So I don't have time for that shit. I mean, I'm gonna watch it anyway. I don't want to go in blind. So yeah, I didn't look it up. Sounds like a fart though.
It certainly does.
I don't roll your eyes, Caroline. You know you thought it.
Actually, I didn't think of it.
Oh, bullshit. You watched this whole show and didn't think of a fart even once?
No, all I thought about was like windbreaker jackets. That's all. You know, like
fart noise. Do I have a fart drop?
That's the only thing I thought about. I didn't even think about breaking wind.
Do I have a fart drop?
I'm realizing I should be reusing jokes way more often on this podcast because I made the fart joke when I did impressions, and it's still coming off well. So
I have a drop.
Just stick with it.
I have a drop of Caroline saying glazed like a donut or something now. Yeah, you said it. Why is everybody glazing it? That's what you said. I told you I was going to take that clip.
I still don't really think that's all that gross sounding.
Do you know what that means?
I'm just waiting for you to play that.
Everything
Do you not have the drop?
Things that sound completely innocent could very well be something in Urban Dictionary. I don't keep up with that stuff, Mitz.
All right. Well,
continuing with expectations. You know, we're already running long here.
Well, this anime, there's nothing. This anime has no plot
line.
line, so
we're going to talk a lot about this anime. I can tell you that right now. I have a lot to talk about.
I don't have much to say. All right. What the hell are we doing? Will you please keep this on the rails, Mason?
Prior to my doing impressions, I didn't have any expectations except for the fact that I tend to enjoy the look and feel of Cloverworks shows. They tend to have nice, sharp lines, and I just like their aesthetic. So I had highish expectations. Wasn't a big fan on the evidence that I failed it because I didn't think it was doing anything all that original. It felt kind of tropey. But so much of the Discord people were saying, oh, but the show is so much better than Buchi Giri. So, of course, like, this one's going to be better. So I was like, fine. I believe it. I think it could get there. Let's see the show. That's kind of almost exactly like Buchi Giri with a bunch of guys in a high school being delinquents and fighting. Let's give it a shot. So that's what I was expecting coming in. With that said, recommendations. Caroline, should the good people at home listening with bated breath watch Windbreaker?
No.
Oh, come on. With a title like that?
It's generally watchable, and I guess if you're really into like delinquent fighting anime, it might just hit for you in a certain way. But if you're not specifically into that, there really isn't much else to this show, because the script is like the major problem for me. The script can literally be boiled down to the same 5 buzzwords. We got the top, lame, stronger, or strong, take both, like smile and fun. When I pinpointed those 5 words and I clicked play again on the scene that I was in the middle of, because I was thinking about it, I made a comment on Discord and I went back to it. Now that I figured that out, in that scene, that one scene, they said any mixture of those words 12 times in that one scene. And I think this could be a great drinking game. Like, I'm kind of disappointed I didn't think about this first when I started watching it, because then I would have been tempted to actually try it out for an episode. Like, every time they say one of those 5 words, take a sip, because you would be sloshed. So there's that. Characters, I think, generally can be described in one sentence. There is no depth to these characters. And sure, it's not exactly, like, not every anime has depth, but that's just one other factor. The emotional arcs, because there are many, they just feel so awkward and silly. And then they will hit you over the head with the same lessons learned over and over again. Once you think the character has, like, their big breakthrough, they will focus on that breakthrough for the next 3 scenes. And they will talk about it again. And they won't just let it be and continue the story. And that you will never not wonder what a character is thinking or feeling, because they will tell you immediately, and they will tell you it again. Because that's all they do in the show. It's like they beat you over the head. Now, there is good stuff to the show. The fighting scenes, they're really good. Animation-wise and choreography-wise, it looks really good.
Well, they fucking better be. That's like, what, 90% of this thing?
Yeah, but talking is 100% of it.
Oh,
and
they
they
so
can't even
much.
do that right.
They definitely talk a lot.
For a show that has, fights are communication. It's a conversation. They do a lot
what?
of damn talking through these fights.
I talk to my
Yeah.
fist, motherfucker.
Talk to my fist. And I also think like the antisocial tsundere is like an interesting choice for a main character, even though I think the tsundere part is like played up a little bit too much. I think he could have like there was something here that I could have really enjoyed regarding that choice. But the rest is just overdone. And generally I can appreciate and enjoy just a fun show that doesn't have like a lot of depth and substance. But the problem with Windbreaker is that it's trying to force that substance in a not very well done way. So it just gives me the feeling that it's taking itself way too seriously, and I'm left feeling cringy and awkward watching this, and also bored.
Oh, Caroline.
And that is my feelings on Windbreaker. Spoiler free.
Womp, womp, womp.
Give it a shot.
Mitsugi, what do you think?
I also do not recommend Windbreaker. You know, it's just a bunch of dudes fighting, and any plot that exists is all like in backstories where I low-key think that this is really just an anime where like a bunch of dudes are in love with each other, because they just like, it's like, oh, I just want to, it's like a flashback to high school. Oh, my whole purpose in life is to make you the strongest at the new food eating academy, and I just expect them to like stop fighting and just make out with each other half the time in this anime, because it's so obvious that these characters, half of them are just madly in love with each other.
There's certainly yaoi undertones to almost every scene.
And they don't know how to.
There's a problem with that, but
they don't know how to express it, so they just fight instead. But the plot is mostly like be the strongest. I really didn't know what to expect. I thought this was going to be like a supernatural anime when I watched it. I certainly didn't think it was going to be another delinquent like fighting anime, which is it's a lot of like Real Bout High School or like Iki Tosen or one of these where schools just fight each other, but they don't have much of a reason to fight each other. It doesn't seem like they just fight. I mean, the action is pretty good. No one's going to argue that like the fight scenes and some of the choreography aren't good, because they are. But as Caroline said, god damn, do they talk a lot during these fight scenes. I mean, it's worse than Inuyasha. I mean, Inuyasha would be like, now I'm going to use the wind scar and it's going to tear through, and then they just explains what he's going to do, then he does it. These people will just like stop and just have a whole fucking conversation and then a flashback for 4 minutes, and then they get back to the fighting. And when they do, the fighting is good. And I did like the idea of fighting in a theater where they're all sitting in the seats. Like, I thought that was pretty cool.
That it's like Fight Club.
Yeah, it's neat, right?
Yeah. But there's, I'm going to say more, but that's spoiler kind of, so I'll sorry.
They had like a venue for it. But I didn't think that when they went to the theater, that was going to be largely the whole show. Like, it seemed like they spent most of the anime in that theater. And of course, the animation is good. The characters are not that great, honestly. They're very, like, there's so many characters in anime where the character is just one of those like overly psychotic, eyeballs bulging, and then there's like the guy that's overly quiet, but you know he's going to be like a badass. You know, there's a lot of tropes going on, and so much crying. These guys, they cry so much. It's so funny. And I'm not going to lie, in full disclosure, I dropped this anime around episode 10. I just didn't feel like I needed to see the final 3 episodes, because they were doing nothing but just beating up each other since like episode 3. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just didn't see it really doing much in the end. And I chose to go watch Outlaw Star instead with my wife, which I think was a much better choice, because this anime is nowhere near as good as that. And honestly, it was kind of, I don't know. I guess I wasn't disappointed because I didn't really have any expectations at all. So, but ultimately, I would not recommend this. I think if you want to go watch people beat each other up, God, there's so many delinquent anime out there. I'd rather watch Bebop High School. for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
I'd almost rather watch Tokyo Revengers. Almost.
Ooh. Oof, that's the fighting words. I don't know if I would go that. So, to avoid repeating a lot of what Caroline and Mitt said, I think Caroline said it best. The show is generally watchable. The fight sequences and even the chase sequences look really good. The punches land. The rest of the show, and we'll get into why, especially the characters and the writing, really fall flat and make the show kind of frustrating between doing one part of it so good and having the rest of it so just feeling unsatisfactory and just not substanceful. So I would not recommend Windbreaker. I'm going to tell you why in details, and we'll find out at the end if it's better than Buchigiri. But let's get to spoilers. Wait, but before I do, to protect myself from Windbreaker fans, I'm putting on my Windbreaker lanyard to prove that I
It's pretty fucking
am
funny.
a true fan. So, okay, now we can play.
You better be careful. Someone's going to think you are a fan.
Spoilers are coming.
Not after what I'm about to say.
Oh my god.
Oh, come on. I mean, it's just a stupid anime where people just fight. It's how could you even have that much negative crap to say about it? They don't do enough to really be even criticizing it all that much.
Mitz, do you see my notes right now?
No, of course, no. No, I don't know. Where are they? On the document?
It's in our pros and cons boxes as usual.
Well, there's a lot of cons. I didn't read them.
No, there are some pros, and I will get to them, but there are a lot of cons.
Well,
What
let's
do you
address
want
them.
to start with?
Okay. Okay, let's start talking about some pros. Okay, so we said the fight choreography and the
Mhm.
animation. That's good. And honestly, the tournament arc, like overall, the best part of the show. And thank God they had it.
They
I
had a
thought
fucking
at least it was
tournament
the
arc
most
in this.
entertaining part.
I mean,
Yeah,
it was the
tournament.
5-on-5 that she's talking about.
I
Was
call
that
it
a-
tournament arc, but it's not exactly a tournament.
Was that at the
but-
very, very end?
No,
that
it
was
in
what
the
you
middle.
watched through. It was
Okay,
the
I gave up halfway through.
1v1
5v5.
5 times
Yeah.
where they said right before it started, remember guys, none of your fights matter besides the very last one. Because they just needed an excuse to fill out the show with a bunch of fighting. They had
I mean,
this
I like seeing the fighting, really. That's the draw.
So okay, I'm so excited. Show me the fights. And the first 4 episodes are all of them gearing up for a fight, and then someone be like, "No, now's not a good time.
Yeah,
Let's
you're
delay
like,
it." Or
"You're not gonna
it's
fight.
getting
You're the
dark
main
out.
character.
Let's
You
not
will
beat
not
each other
fight first."
senseless." Yeah, we
They
got
basically
to
said that.
delay it.
Yeah. But even though I was most entertained by that part, I gotta say, I'm a little pissed that they all won. Like, when you're doing a fight like this, you gotta get some intrigue going. Like, our good guys have to lose at some point in this little 1v1 5 times. Like, how did they all win? Like, this gang is nothing. They suck. Like, they're a terrible gang. How are they this powerful? Yeah.
It's
I
the
thought we
power
were
of
starting
love.
with the pros.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So
Yeah,
back to
come
that
on,
tournament thing.
Caroline.
I actually thought that the Sakura versus Togami fight was like pretty good, especially when they stopped fighting for a second. Like when Sakura like yells out that like you're just a bunch of bullies. Like the reason why we all did this is because your team was like chasing after a middle schooler. Like what the fuck is that? And then Togame, who at the same like up to this point like seen as like a very sadistic type of guy, and we're under the impression that he's fully aware of what the situation is and why they're doing this. Like he had no idea the reason. And I think it's really silly that he didn't know the reason. But that aside, he stops the fight. He's like, wait 1 second. He goes into the crowd and he beats the shit out of the
Yeah,
kids.
That was
guys
so lame. That
Why
was
was it
that was
lame?
Really?
there was big Batman versus Superman Martha moment of like, "Oh, we're doing our fight to the death." They're
What?
the bad guys. Oh, let's go punch
He's-
him and have
he's
this
trying
really
to-
dramatic
I kind
backstory
of like
of like
that.
his
He's
orange
trying to
buddies
save
are
his
all bad.
he's trying to
The
save his school's
backstory was
honor.
dog shit, but
about honor,
I
man.
thought
Backstories
that
were
was kind
so
of
bad.
interesting.
The fight I liked was Suo versus the Top Knot boy. So Suo was the guy with the eye patch, and
Our
it
little
was such a
man.
good lesson on empathy of just like I will like enforce this like life lesson into your bones by brutally and ruthlessly taking you down and showing you like what powerlessness feels like. Like that was an awesome fight. And
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
the rest of the fights, pretty weak. I do agree with you. Having all our boys win was kind of lackluster. I was a little annoyed that Nirei, the pretty much exposition machine, was there for any reason.
Yeah,
And
that's
they're
the
like,
whole purpose of this character is for exposition.
we'll get to the characters, like you said, later. To me, the big part that I liked about this show, besides the fights being pretty good, and we'll talk about those later, is, the lessons of the kindness of humanity, that we don't and shouldn't find contentment in fight and warfare and competition. While that's good for pushing us, look around, see the vegetables growing around you, appreciate the warm, fuzzy boys around you. Like, I like some of the lessons that Hajime was teaching Haruka, like at the beginning of the series and kind of the end, but that all kind of dropped the ball. Haruka came in as a tsundere, so like self-conscious, and I felt like we moved past that unbelievably quick. So I like some of the messaging behind the fights and the quote-unquote conversations had within them, but a lot of times they were just like, let's just fight for a while, and I grew bored with them.
One other thing in my pros list that we went through that pretty quickly, actually. One thing in my pros list: the guy who constantly rolls his R's. Yes, very stereotypical.
I didn't even
but I
notice
thought
shit
it was
like this.
fucking
I
hilarious.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
There's this one
I assume you
guy
watched the
in their
dub,
class.
Mitch?
Oh yeah, I watched the dub for sure. Yeah.
I don't know if he
they did in the
rolled
dub.
his R. He must
Okay,
have rolled
so-
his R's in the dub, because if you watch
so-
the sub, it was unmistakable.
It's like a raw,
Yeah.
raw, raw.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's just-
so
that's
his
just
whole
Yankee talk.
character is like everything he says. If there's an R in it, it's rolled.
It's like this, you
and
go- you go-
dramatically.
You go, oi,
rolled.
baka ya roll, like that. Baka
Like,
ya
he's even
roll.
more bombastic than that.
Oh,
but yes.
baka ya roll.
Yes. There you go.
Like,
you
but
could
he's
be.
also
You could,
screaming it. He's also screaming.
He's just purring at his opponent. He really wants to.
No,
You know,
he's
mount
Bakayarto or something.
Yeah, yeah.
He does it like that.
Well, that's
Okay,
just
I'm
that's just
glad
a
I
link in
just
your
thought
pocket.
that was really funny. Like, not like an amazing choice in character, but like I thought it was funny. All right, you guys choose. What do we talk about next?
I feel like we're dancing around it. I feel like we need to talk about these characters and explain why they don't work. These characters are uncooked chickens.
What?
And someone is making a dish for me. They're making an anime meal, and they're cooking all these characters in the oven, and they're taking them out, and they're raw on the inside. They are so underdeveloped. They're so tropey. They are so just. There is a character. We meet him at the very, very end, but for most of the show, he's just doing bicep curls in the opening, and just that gave him as much personality as these people with oceans of speaking lines, because even when characters are talking, they are not really expressing anything. They are just 2D cutouts that are undercooked, and the show is constantly showing you new characters. Even like the last 2 episodes, they're throwing a whole classroom full of people at you, and they're all undercooked because they don't have time to develop anything. They're just rushing through and speedrunning.
I see.
Providing all these unsalted blandness. And yeah, if you come to the show with your own pocket full of salt to season it with, oh, I can assume that he's more like this. Yeah, they're going to taste okay. But at the end of the day, what the show delivered to my table was all these characters that have nothing going on to them. Because besides the fights and talking about fights, there's no room for characterization from the antagonist, the protagonist, and I get that there's some, from Sakura's point of view, we can see essences of him in Choji and Anzai in his past, while Hajime and Kaiji are representing his future. But there's really, it's hard to express how devoid these characters are of anything. And it's not that they're unlikable. I mean, Mirai gets pretty close, but I don't watch them like, oh, I hate all these people. They're just very plain. And if you want to argue, oh, no, the characterization is fine. Like, it works for just a fighting show, but there's really, I watch something like Ping Pong and compare that to the characters in this. It's it's the most night and day thing you've ever experienced because there's just nothing to these people. So I don't care about their fights. I don't care about why they're doing what they're doing. And yeah, they look good, but it's just the exposition. I don't know. It's hard to explain how flat they feel to me.
Even when they try to develop them. So let's take the antagonist for one, like Choji. Okay, so immediately when you're introduced to him, like you cannot freaking stand this guy because he's acting like a 5-year-old. And I just can't. I really cannot take this kid seriously. And it is, and he's just so terribly annoying. And then they try to develop him. Like, they give him the tragic backstory, and, like, they try to tell you, like, why is he doing these things? It still doesn't make sense. Like, I still don't understand why he became a sadist out of nowhere, and why he keeps on talking about fun and smiling all the time. And apparently you can cure depression and sadism with one good punch, because after that fight, it's all hunky-dory. And similar with all the other kind of bad characters in this, like, not bad, but, like, because they're all bad, but, like, you know, evil characters in the show. It's like, they're just so lackluster. Like, the moment that they try to do anything with them, I'm just thinking, like, you're not doing it right. It's just not good.
Look, I didn't think this anime was, like, god-awful or anything, but I just don't get the point of it. I mean, I can watch people fight violently all day long. And it's even the kind of fighting I like, which is just fist fighting, right?
Yeah.
You know, my YouTube thing is full of, like, UFC fights these days. You know, I just watch people beat each other to death. But it's like, but I mean, there's so many anime out there that are just tournaments. Like, Dragon Ball's got a tournament, Yu Hakusho's a tournament. Like, tons of these anime that are shown, and they all have fucking tournaments and stuff. This anime to me just seemed like a bunch of tournaments, like just a bunch of like bouts. I just don't understand the point of it. It's like, so when you sit down and you're going to write a story, ostensibly there's like a purpose or a goal or an inspiration behind it. But was the author just thinking, I really just want to make another anime where Yankee boys beat each other up. It's like, is that all he did? Because I mean, and then like, oh, I'm going to throw these like weak ass little backstories in to make it kind of make sense, but in the end, I just don't get the fucking point of it all. You know?
It feels like they're saying words that on their own are supposed to evoke these things of, I just want to smile, or I want to be a leader and I want to be free, or the guy we meet at the end. It's about the virtue. What's your virtue? What's your thing? And they sound like they're big words, but there's no content behind them. They seem almost AI generated in that they are listed in comprehensible sentences, but there's no weight behind anything.
Yeah, but what about the town?
Yeah, sorry, what?
The town. Like, it started off as, like, these people, they defend the town. And, like, the town gives them food and stuff, and they're nice to them. But then, like, that seemingly just went away. Like, I thought it was going to be like, oh, this school, and they're in this town, and they're protecting the town, and they're delinquents, but they're good. They're good delinquents. Because they're protecting the town against someone that's not good.
Town.
Am I wrong? I mean, that's how it started. 2 episodes, right? Yeah. I thought that's what this was going to be about. But then, like, I assume maybe there's going to be a season 2, I guess, probably. Fuck it, everything has a season 2.
I think it's already announced.
Every anime has a season 2 now. Everything. Nothing only gets one, anyway.
Except Land of the Lustrous.
Well, yeah, but that's because that's 10 years old. But
it's not as good as Windbreaker, let's be honest, guys. I mean, of course.
Oh, come on. But, I mean, it's like, but I maybe they'll go back to the town in season 2, but I just thought that, like, they were going to do something with, like, they would, like, people would come and try to invade the town.
Are the NPCs. Like, they are not.
I guess they're NPCs.
For the premise.
But, like, you know, oh, someone's going to rob the bakery. And then they go and they, like, defend the bakery. I don't fucking know. But, like, that didn't seem to happen. So, I don't know. I got bamboozled a little there. But,
like, following up what Mason was talking about before that, like, with, like, just more talk about, like, examples of the characters. So, like, Umemiya, like, the leader of the group. Of course, he's not going to be like the super serious, like cool leader. He's going to be like, I'm just a happy-go-lucky guy hanging out with my friends, and I'm going to, you know, garden on the rooftop. And so every scene with him, it's as follows. This is literally every scene that features Umemiya. He will do or say something goofy or like completely just happy-go-lucky, and people are flabbergasted, like. And they do like the like reaction faces, like what?
Well,
yeah.
No one cares about your vegetables.
And
Yeah.
then he will act serious for like a second, and he'll say something that like is supposed to, evoke like, oh my god, I can't believe he said that. And then everybody will do like a gasp of respect, like, it's every scene. I'm like, and whatever he says, this really respectable thing he says to like trying to, you know, turn the corner on what you think his character is, it holds no weight. It really is not that amazing what he just said. It's just something that's not goofy. So
These characters don't get in the way of this show of being about fighting and presenting it well. So in that respect, they serve it well, but they just provide nothing for me to grasp onto and care about and root for. I just see these very generic tropes that just make me not see them as people trying to get accepted, trying to find their place in the world, trying to grow and develop. They're just they're just artificial in a way that makes me not care about this. Oh, we need to have this massive 7-episode fight sequence. Oh, we're going to meet this whole battalion of like, these are the 4 kings, and each of the class has 2 leaders, but you don't really care about any of them because they're all so bland and generic. Like, why would I care about this new group of people coming in when I don't even know who my main character is? Really, like, he's just a tsundere who kind of got past it really quickly, and he's learning to blush with all the other boys, and that's good. I don't hate him. I don't hate any of these characters for the most part, but they're just they're just not developed.
and then Nirei, who's just literally just a walking, talking encyclopedia for the purposes of exposition.
But not even interesting. Like, they'll be fighting, and Neri will be like, "Oh, I knew he was strong, but not this strong."
Yeah.
Thanks.
You know,
I can see that, and everyone is so in love with Haruka. They see him punch one dude, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, you're the best. You should be our captain. Oh my goodness, we'll follow you to the end." Like, am I the viewer supposed to be like, "Oh yeah, he's amazing"? I feel like the show is trying to just make Haruka just the most amazing character ever, and I'm supposed to be following along with the tide of all these people following in his eventual leadership.
He's the reluctant hero,
On the other hand, as a fighting anime, it's quite good, isn't it?
It is. They are kind of scrappy. Some of the jumping is a little unrealistic, but they're generally exciting fights. They use different movements that feel powerful. They have a weight behind them. The environments they are fighting in.
If you don't have any, if you're not fighting for anything, they don't have no weight.
That's true.
Like,
That's
no,
true.
Like, your punches aren't all that strong because you're not fighting for anything.
Whatever happened to just fighting for some money? I just want some cash.
Yeah, fighting for food. Something.
Give me some cash. Yeah.
I will say, as good as the fights and chase sequences are, there were a lot of noticeable dips of wonkiness in outside of fighting scenes and stuff. And the environments were definitely not as beautifully lived in as Buchigiri. Like, I definitely like the look of that show more, and despite all its faults. Also, I want to mention there were a ton of really bad edits. Not in like my typical, his hand was in his right pocket, but the next thing, it was in his left pocket. Like, not a continuity thing. There were just a lot of cuts to frames that gave the viewer so little time to adjust and saw what happened that, like, in less than 20 femtoseconds, it was doing these cuts with punches, and it was very jarring and jerky in a lot of ways. And it was just not very well edited together in a lot of ways. So
Yeah.
it's fine. It looked good. The music sounded pretty good.
Mhm.
I didn't listen to the dub, but the Japanese voice acting was pretty solid. Like, it was a well done show. There just was nothing to it, and I really feel like that's more frustrating in some ways than a show like Buchigiri, which tried to go in 1,000 directions at once and shoot for so many things and fall short, whereas this show just kind of played it so safe that it just receded within a shell of mediocrity. So,
And then on
this
top
is
of
really
that,
depressing.
like, the ending, they did 13 episodes for this season. They went the extra episode than typical. And usually you do that for a reason.
No,
they
just
did it
for fucks.
No, like, Mitz, you didn't see the ending, so
Oh, well,
you
that's
would
true.
think
I
like
didn't.
the 12th episode, that felt like a fine wrapping up point The only reason why they had that 13th episode is because they wanted to have more time to do the whole like four kings, like meet the four kings, blah, 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 even though we didn't really meet them. Like him becoming like the class captain or whatever, that's a fine ending point. But then they add a 13th episode to bring in this next arc, I guess, even though it feels more like a 2-episode thing.
Going back to the town.
No, it was like there's one guy in their class which had like one line in the course of the rest of the season. Like he gets beat up, like he's found beaten up, and he says like, "Oh, it was I got attacked by what did he say? Was it
A big
bear?
dog. It's a
By a
bear dog.
He got attacked by a dog. We got punched in the face by this dog, even though he's like slumped on the
Man,
ground.
bear, pig.
Yeah. And he's being like really
Hajime no
secretive and
Ippo.
cagey about what actually happened. He doesn't want to get the team involved because it's apparently like a personal thing. And we find out that it's an involvement with his like childhood friend. He's on a rival gang and he's like being abused in this gang, but he's staying with the gang. And because he tried to help him and defend him, he got beaten up by the rival gang. And now
It's
like
always a childhood
everybody
friend.
finds out eventually, and they're like, let's suit up and let's go get this guy. And that's the end of the season. Like it's just
Why
like
can't like people
it's
just make
not even
friends when-
that interesting of a next plot development. So I'm like, that is not something you do to end a season.
Why can't you just you know, make friends when you're an adult? Like why does it have to be everything? Not everything has to be from when you're 14. You know? I
No,
don't
like
know.
this kid was literally his best friend up until like 6 months before the start of the show.
Well,
And he
okay,
just randomly
sure.
got into this. Yeah, so it's like it's not like, you know, somebody he hasn't seen in a while. Like he literally just saw him like 6 months ago, and somehow he became evil. Not evil, but he became part of became part of an evil gang.
It was another generic plot beat that we've seen 1,000 times. The show would have been better with 12 episodes or better with 14 episodes. Where it stands, it kind of had a weird, odd ending, but by that point, I was already checked out. And what's another character on the heap of them? Like,
Yeah, but thank God we got his backstory. 'Cause
yeah,
we certainly don't need anybody else's backstory. Like,
No.
We certainly don't really know. I don't know. Did Sakura not know that this was not like an actual school? Because this is not an accredited high school. They're just hanging out in an abandoned school building, and they wear the same uniform. They're just a gang hanging out in a school building. There's no teachers. They're just sitting in a classroom all day, doing nothing, chatting.
no, they're cleaning the streets. You know,
Like, every
what
once in a
everyone does in high
while.
school.
It seems more often that they're just sitting in the classroom. It's not as if like they have a schedule like, okay, you guys, in this portion of the day, you guys are out on patrol. You guys, you're going to be cleaning up trash. It's not like that. They're mostly just sitting in a classroom, and on occasion they might go outside.
They're practicing rolling their R's. I don't know what to tell
Yeah.
you.
They're not even
Um,
practicing fighting. Like that would be one. Okay, so if this is like a
There's
school,
no training in the show.
there's no training. I'm like, okay, so you're just a group of kids hanging out in a school building and sometimes fight a rival gang and sometimes you clean up trash.
Maybe they did some training. I don't know. I'm ready to score this thing.
Yeah.
I feel like this just like this review. The show wasn't very substanceful. So
Caroline, go ahead. Caroline had most to
go
say.
for it.
Like one more small thing, like the whole class rep thing. Like the whole class captain thing. Like it's just a glorified class rep. Like why are you making it such a big deal? It's like I can't be the class rep, you know, because I need a reason to be the class rep. I'm not worthy to be the class rep. And they're
You
like,
need
no,
a reason
it's-
for the pretty
everybody's like
headphone
yelling
boy
at
to
him.
yell
It's
at you.
not a big deal. You just go to a meeting every once in a while, you know.
It's a big deal to
Okay.
them, Caroline.
It's a big deal
It's a
of
big deal
Sakura,
to
and he's not
them.
even part. Like he's an outsider, and he's the only one making this a big deal. Okay, yeah, it's really fun to make fun of this show. That's why I've gotten so energetic recently. It's like I love shitting on things. But this is so easy to shit on. Yeah, I really am not sure where people really loved this show. It's on the occasional fight, sure, but it's overall not good. So I am going to give this show 2 punches that can cure depression and sadism out of 5. Because overall, it's just a fine show. It's just silly.
Mason?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been in such lockstep with Caroline in all these years. I'm giving it 2-toned hair out of 5.
Whoa, we've never get the
Um,
same score.
Yeah, it just did not do much and wasn't good. But if you enjoyed it, I'm glad you like fights.
Well, I can honestly say I don't think I enjoyed this as much as Bucci Giri. I mean, come on, there was no one to yell Bucci Giri in this. That's the big problem.
Yeah, it was different flavor of yaoi
Did
between the
anybody
two.
ever say why this fucking show is called Windbreaker?
Because
I
the
think
name
it's the name of their gang, like Chime of the Windbreaker or something.
like
Furine,
Furi means
okay, yeah.
wind, and Bofurine means windbreaker.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. So I guess I can't give it as good of a score that I gave Bucci Giri. It just doesn't seem to make sense, honestly. So in looking back, I gave Bucci Giri a 2.5. So this is gonna have to also get 2. Do I have that fucking drop at the farts? That's my Olympic farts. There you go. That out of 5. That was me singing the Olympic theme song while farting.
Sorry, what was it that you gave it? I was distracted by the farting.
I gave it a 2.
Oh, okay. So we are all in lockstep.
Yes. We break
All right.
wind yes. We break wind
There you have it.
together.
So
Together as one.
Let's close it out here. We talked for a long time about this show.
Longer than it deserved, considering it doesn't. I can't.
It's fun to talk about bad stuff.
I just can't give a show with no plot line a very good score. That's the bottom line, honestly. So.
You don't need to convince us. We gave it the same exact score.
I know.
You can follow us on Twitter at AAA Podcast. You can follow us on Facebook as well, AAA Podcast. Go to our Discord. You can find all information on that stuff on AAApodcast.com. And we're also on TikTok at _anime_addicts. And yeah, that's basically it. Next week, we're going to be doing a very interesting review of Gushing Over Magical Girl.
Glazing.
Okay. Glazing
Make sure
is a
you
word
have that drop
not...
ready.
Okay, we don't need the drop ready. We really don't.
I don't have it on the soundboard, so you can't have it anyway.
Good.
Sorry, Mason.
So we'll see you next week for that beautiful review.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
We love you. Bye.
I love you long time.